Now for a closer look at the whole sector and the outlook for lead tech analyst Mark Mahaney of RBC. Mark, good to see you. Let's start generally now. We have the NASDAQ up more than 40% this year. It's 2 years in a row. I think it was 35% in 2019. Have we piled on just too much and too many of the same stocks, or did the fundamental drivers remain in place for next year?
You know, Mike, it's a great question you asked. I was just looking at this data this morning. This will be the third best year for NASDAQ of the last 2 decades. The difference here, however, is that this year comes after a big last year, whereas the 2 prior years in which NASDAQ outperformed so dramatically were after major corrections. Now, the big explanation, of course, is COVID, which turned out to be the COVID crisis, the pandemic, which for some of these tech companies, Amazon, probably Facebook, Microsoft, perhaps, turned out to be great positive stimuluses for their businesses for a variety of different reasons. So having said all that, does that mean that you should be at the margin a little bit more muted in your enthusiasm for 2021? It's hard not to escape that conclusion. With these kind of rapid gains, you're probably going to be more in consolidation phase, particularly in the first half of this of 2021, and particularly for companies that had real acceleration in the first half of 20. Comps are going to get tough, and so investors are going to need to look to 22 before they get enthusiastic. I think you'll see consolidation in the stocks.
Now, we've gotten used to this idea that there's regulatory growling, there's talk about antitrust concerns or business practice issues that the market has happily just sort of set aside and kind of expanded the valuations of these companies. Is it going to change at all with the lawsuits against Google and the skirmish between, Facebook and Apple?
I think regulatory risk, Mike, has been rising, for years. And the company that I track that's most squarely in the center of regulators' attention, and probably for good reasons, is Google. There's now 3 or 4 separate cases going on with Google. And there's no question this is a very powerful company in the internet advertising space. Whether they've actually created any harm to consumers, I'm extremely skeptical of. But is this a sharp-elbowed, very aggressive company in the ad tech space? They are on all sides of the transaction. They represent publishers, they represent ad buyers, they run the exchanges. So there's a lot of potential conflicts in there. Also, what came out, and it's still highly redacted in this Texas suit, this potential collusion between Google and Facebook. We need to see the details on that. But that strikes me as something that regulators can easily and squarely go right after. So Google is the one that I think has got the most regulatory risk, probably faces the greatest chance of some sort of breakup.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.